All right, traders, welcome to the end of today's market recap. This is Wednesday, July 13th, and this is Christian from Biotech and Trade Group. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. The full risk disclaimer is here for you to read. So very quick market recap today because we are doing a member webinar, right? We're going to be talking about the value areas and the market webs. I'll give you a couple examples and a couple notable things that I saw today. But overall, let's talk about how today, today was very widely anticipated in terms of what the next inflation read was. And, I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty about the inflation report, but I want to go into the effect of the inflation report, right? We did see a move up in the expectations of a rate hike. Remember when I've been going over this through the week, we kind of started, I think, a week ago where they were only pricing in about 70 basis points for the next Fed meeting, which is on 7/27. They have moved that to a more aggressive, closer to 1% interest rate hike for the next meeting. So, that's further tightening. Now, and then also, if you look at the September reading, right, now they're looking at possibly 70 basis points for that meeting, right? So this is more hawkish. The question is, okay, this, with the interest rate, again, this is the overnight rate of what the Fed controls. How come the market really didn't sell off on this, right? That's the question. If you remember last month, the CPI data that comes out is once a month, right? So we got this information a month ago, and when the inflation ticked higher, the market really sold off. So why didn't it do it today? Well, I don't have a real hard answer for that, other than, there's a couple things that may have changed over the last month, right? If you look at positioning, right? Positioning, this is something that I went over in the, let's see if I can bring this up really quick. I apologize because I don't have this slide up, but if you look at the positioning, right, that's going on. And that is done by, you could look at the commercial, right? So for example, S&P futures, this is just S&P futures positioning, right? It's very, very light. Actually, this is the wrong one. This is the net commercial futures positioning. I wanted the asset managers, right? Let's see if I can find the asset managers. Here we go. This should be it, right? Yeah, this is the chart that I wanted, right? So this is the asset managers, right? And if I look at the monthly chart, so this could be one particular reason, right? If you look at the positioning right now and the level it is, look at how much has been unwound over the last, if I could draw this in closer now, but you could see over the last year, there's a lot of unwinding that has already occurred, right? There isn't much more to sell. The speculators are already short S&P futures. So it just could be that we've got to a level where, most of things have been unwound already, right? It could be that there was a little bit of buy the dip going on. Maybe some funds are buying back some of their stock, right? It could also be just that the week is not over, right? Tomorrow we've got the PPI report too, right? I know everybody focuses on the CPI, but tomorrow is the PPI, Producer Price Index, right? That will be interesting to see what we get in terms of data points. But overall, and I'll go through the technicals because that's what I do every day. So PPI tomorrow is they're looking for X energy, very close to what they were looking for today, 0.5, right? So that number comes out at 8:30 in the morning, and we'll be going over that number. But bottom line is, right, and this is why we pay attention to price, because we don't know what's priced into the market as well. Right? I talked about positioning, but price knows all, right? Just like, what you're hearing about a lot is, the possibility is getting, stronger and stronger that there's a recession, right? But the price action in stocks often lead that, right? We've been seeing declines, this market started to break down in the beginning of this year. So, the writing has been on the wall in terms of what you're seeing in the price action in the market, right? You know, the stock market is a leading indicator versus some of the reports that we're receiving are lagging indicators, right? Again, it's an argument that I'm making here. It's not a exact science, right? But the fact that market didn't go down on this and didn't really, you know, have that major selling pressure, you know, it could be a combination of those things. Also, you know, this is how we kind of set up today in the pre-market session, right? When we took this number out, right around 8:35, our pre-market session starts at just a little bit after 9 o'clock. I talked about whether, you know, levels to watch, right? And specifically, there was a 5-minute version point of control taken out, right? So we went back to this value area. Again, a lot of volume that we haven't revisited. So a lot of times we take that out and it could be the low for the day. And it was the low for the day, right? The market likes to seek these things out like magnets and then possibly reverse, right? We just didn't have enough selling pressure, right, to kind of push us lower. So one of the things that I said to watch for the day was watch last week's lows. Let's see, it won't let me go back won't let me zoom out for some reason, but we can look at this on the 1-hour chart too. That's fine, right? I thought what was important to watch was last week's lows. Now we held that, right? Did we do anything great here? No, we didn't. We bounced a little bit. So there's a little bit of a tradable bounce, but I don't really see anything much more than that. Okay. So the market is holding in there. You know, are the lows going to remain? I mean, that remains to be seen. We could be breaking here. You know, we actually closed very weak, you know, a very weak close today. So that's something to watch. And we could do this exercise with the Qs, but I would watch the, you know, the lows from last week. So NASDAQ has a different looking picture, right? This on the 1-hour just basically got to the bottom of value and bounced pretty well, right? So we use these for roadmaps, right? The other thing that was notable to me, so looking at support, right? But also resistance, right? And I mentioned this a couple of times in the room, right around like 11 o'clock. I said, hey, we've had a nice bounce here. However, we're stalling where price needs to turn the corner even just for the day, and that's the bottom of value. Again, we tried here. There was a bond auction, right, that gave us a little bit of an higher, but look at it, right? Right. So even though the positioning, you know, may have changed a bit, so that there's not a lot of liquidations anymore, right? But there's also no conviction to go to the long side because what we just went over in the beginning of this video, they're going to be raising interest rates faster than what was expected just a week ago. So we're kind of in, we're kind of in no man's land right now. We're back to this again is looking at NASDAQ, but it doesn't really matter that much which index that we look at. But notice that we're back to where we started the month, right? So that's it. I mean, the trend is still down. We're below the 5-period, below the 20-day moving average. So, you know, using my system, I come right out and tell you, this is not a great place to be adding risk, right? We just don't have any confirmation, right, of anything strong going on here, right? From a technical trend perspective, right? If I see that we're above the 5-period moving average, above the 20-period moving average, then possibly the short-term trend is changing, right? And this is the fast line here. Oops, that's the 5. This is the 20 exponential moving averages, and this is the 50, right? And again, this was important, right, for us to regain the 50-day moving average and possibly make a higher move out of this, right? A higher high, right, from this period, but we got rejected. So the price is telling us. So we know that the Fed is still basically not our friend, right? They are still tightening, and they're going to be doing it more aggressively. And we're not really seeing any major divergence with what we're seeing in the technicals, right? We failed again at the 50-day moving average. So I've kind of just hanging around with some small positions. for me, right? I translate this every day into what I'm doing, right? And I just don't see that there's a lot of, I like to see that that the indices are on a solid footing, right? Before I really want to commit a lot of capital. So let's fast forward to what I traded today, right? I did think so. One possible thing that I've been talking about now for the last few weeks is biotech, right? And I talk about this. I've talked about this now in almost every end of day video for the last week. But I love what this is doing, right? It did not take out the lows when the indices did, and it's been grinding higher. It had a little bit of a pushback like it did in here, but it's moving higher. But ultimately, the market is going to need to find a footing too, right? For me to really kind of commit a lot of capital to this, right? Also, this could just be getting up to this virgin point of control and then may stall, right? That's happening in a lot of places, right? Now this is completely different, but this was an area that showed strength too, up until about a week ago. This is Alibaba, for example. Notice that this kind of did the same thing, right? As the overall indices went lower, BABA didn't really take another leg lower, right? So it grinded, pulled back, grinded up, pulled back, took out this VPOC, and then since then, we need to see what this is going to do from here, because this is also now like this name is in no man's land. And if you look at the greater group, right, the Chinese internet group, right, same thing. Right now, it didn't get up to this virgin point of control. Maybe it's leaving that for later, but this is your pushback. Right? It's going to have to hold this. This Chinese internet group is going to have to hold this 50-day moving average in here. Right. So this is an important point. This is an important level to watch in here, is to see if this is going to hold the uptrend. And again, we're not. So let me rephrase that. It would be an uptrend if we were above the 200-day moving average, right? But at least the 50-day moving average, right? It's got to hold on to, and if it doesn't, then it kind of takes out that thesis of being a more bullish Chinese equities right here. All right, so we got an interesting level to watch. What else, right, for the day? So again, I continue to kind of look for strength. Going back to the biotech group, a couple names that I see bucking the trend and it's showing relative strength, right, is the CRSP, right? And again, we were talking about this at the end of the day in the trading room, right, about level 4, stage analysis, right? That comes from Stan Weinstein, right? Level 4, level 1, level 2, level 3, right? To give you a sense of where things are in the stage, right? CRISPR, is a little bit different than the overall biotech sector, right? But here would be your level, kind of your level 4. Now it's kind of done a level 1. Maybe this is level 2, but it's going to have to battle with overhead resistance, right? Kind of an inverted head and shoulders, and is moving higher. All right, it's possible, right? Another name too has been acting well is like an edit, right? Notice the difference here. Price is above the moving averages. Now, again, this is running into some resistance. I tried NT on, kind of in the family of this group. I tried NTLA today, but it didn't really go anywhere, right? And in fact, on the 1-hour chart, which is also, I'm using multiple time frames, it's got to get above 64.62, and then could possibly make it to 67. If it doesn't, which it's not, above 64.62, the signal is not there, right? And you could see what I did with this. I reduced the position. I'm still going to give it the benefit of the doubt here, just for another second, but you could see what it did. I also kicked around some Home Depot. I think what's interesting is this was another name that I'm watching, right? This is Floor and Decor. Just watching. I don't have a position in it. I'm doing more monitoring than anything else, right? Waiting for some things, but Floor and Decor, right? First time back above the 50-day moving average, right? If you don't count this one day, first time back above the 50-day moving average since December. Now, is it going to stall out here like it did last time? It may, right? But it's something that I'm watching for, maybe just for a short-term trade, because that's how you kind of have to look at this market right now, is, possible short terms. But again, the difference here is the 50-day moving average and the top of value, which it's also gotten above for the month, right? So there may be something to this, and that's something further to watch. All right, just a couple other names before I kind of end the video. I thought Celsius has been acting very well, right? Nothing wrong with a little bit of a pullback here to the top of value, but now it has to get going. Right now, after this check back to the top of value, and it was up 2.6%. It didn't close on the highs. The market was weak at the end of the day, but that's one I'll definitely be watching. And in the same family is Monster Beverage, right, which has also been acting very well. Pausing here, but has a chance, right? And another name that saw a little bit of call activity, that saw some call activity today, and it does report earnings this week, but is this Calmine Foods, possibly can get up to 54.88. All right, so that's it for today's video. A little bit of a quicker one. Not the best data today, and Fed Fund futures moved based on today's data. So overall, the the word that comes to mind is patience, right? Let's see what the Fed says at the end of the month. Until then, right, and until we've got some confirmation in the indices, possibly putting in, a higher low and turning the corner, and maybe the Nasdaq getting back above the 50-day moving average. Until then, we're not dealing with a great market. All right, guys. Sorry for the not very uplifting today, but listen, it is what it is. You have to trade the market in front of you, not the one that you want it to be. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow. And by the way, if you're not a member of Tribeca Trade Group, right, today's a great webinar that we're holding. Make sure that you sign up if you're interested, and you can see what it's all about.